Hello everyone, back to today's video. We're going to do the February month-ahead forecast today. Also have a quick look back at January, see how the January forecast panned out, and have a very quick sneak peek at March as well, first month of spring. Before I get on, in fact, just say about the ads, there's links to articles on most of the pages at gazlovis.com. Have a browse through the widgets. Any articles that you're interested in, please click through. So for January forecast, went very well actually. The forecast that was issued by Gazlovis in January suggested another slightly milder than average month, but not a big deviation, similar to December, really, a little bit above average, but not a great deviation compared to the norm. Also went for a slightly wetter than average month, but nothing like January 2014. No deluge and severe flooding problems, and a month of two halves where the first half would be relatively mild and quite wet at times. The second half would be showing more variation, so not severely cold, but there would be much more in the way of cold weather in the second half of the month, and also of course drier because it's colder. I think it all panned out very well. I'm very pleased with the January forecast. We did get that month of two halves, very mild in the first half, some days in the first half of the month going up to 14, 15 degrees actually in some parts of the country, and then much colder of course in the second half of the month. Not severely cold, never severely cold, but colder than certainly the first half of the month, and it turned drier as well as the month progressed. But I think we did come out in some places. There was a lot of variation with the rainfall, but in some places it came out a little bit above average, but nothing like the deluge of 2014. This is the percentage temperature for January from Hadley, just backing it up. It's a fairly good representation of what we're seeing across the country, really. So come out at 4.4 and normally 0.6 above average. So a little bit above average, slightly warmer than average still, despite being a month of two halves. And I think overall the January forecast panned out very nicely indeed. I'm very pleased with how that one went. The February central temperature by way for the first day is in, and it's cold at 2.8, an anomaly of minus 1.4 degrees above average. That was to carry on for the whole month. It would be a cold and average month. Let's see what the models are showing then for February, and here we go. From the CFS V2, this is the monthly 700 millibar height anomaly for February. Now, these models, I'm not sure about them this month, and I'm probably going to have to read between the lines a little bit and come up with my own view. This is sort of hinting at what's going on. What's happening here is that we've got a ridge through the central part of the Atlantic, the mid part of the Atlantic here, indicated by these red colours, and then we've got a trough to the east of the country and to the north of the country as well. The jet stream is going like that around the ridge and the trough, so we're hinting at being on the cold side of the jet, but we're quite unsettled with this trough very close to us. I think how it's, certainly for the first half, how it's actually going to pan out is that this ridge will be much more centred around the country. So instead of being centred in the central part of the Atlantic, this ridge has got to be pushed further in towards us and sort of set up in this sort of area, more or less right over the top of the country, maybe a little bit to the west at times. And the trough will probably be pushed with time further eastwards. Now that's for the first half of the month. Whether that holds all month, I'm not sure about that. We're probably going to find the ridge going somewhere else in the second half of the month. The gamble is going to be whether the ridge goes south and we reintroduce westerlies and unsettled conditions for the second half of February, whether the ridge is able to go north and we turn colder again in the second half of the, February. If we turn colder again in the second half of February because we started off calm, it would be a colder than average month. But I don't think as an anomaly for the month, what we're seeing here from the CFS V2 is quite right. It's underestimating the strength of that ridge. Now, the temperature anomaly from the CFS V2 is hinting at being colder than average, but warmth is over in the east, particularly centred around western parts of Russia, the warm anomalies. Central western areas actually coming out colder than average. We are normal. We're around average, but notice how it's colder than average. This is quite a big flip from what the CFS-V2 was indicating just, say, a week ago. So it is changing. It's trying to catch up with the pattern. These long-range models are not great with pattern changes. When they get into the established pattern, they're okay. But when you get this sort of period that we're in now, where we're having quite a significant pattern change, they're not great. So this is changing quite a bit, and it shows colder than average anomalies for parts of Germany, France, going down Spain, and Portugal. What's going on there is that the ridge is sort of sitting over the top of the country around the British Isles just here, and that's causing the cold air to sort of go in that direction with a trough of low pressure, say somewhere around here or here. So, I mean, we're under the ridge, and it's not a particularly cold ridge. It's not sort of high latitude blocking, so it's likely actually that temperature anomaly could be okay. It could be around average, but I would suspect with frosty nights it could be a bit cold. And it all pings really on where that ridge goes. Does the ridge collapse and go south? If it does, we'll pull in a westerly. That'll mean a milder second half of February. Or will the ridge go north, somewhere north, and allow the cold air to be maintained and maybe even intensifying in the second half of the month? That's going to be the gamble for me, and these models are not really going to help me out on that call. The precipitation anomaly is hinting at being wetter than average, and again, I think that's wrong. Certainly the first half of February is going to be significantly drier than that is suggesting. It could be notably dry. It could be a notably dry first half to February, and again, if that continues into the second half of the month with that ridge, it is likely to be a very significantly drier than average month indeed. So again, I don't think that's quite right. That should be a lot drier than that is showing, I think, for the anomaly. It's probably okay for Central Europe with the trough digging down on the eastern side of that ridge. It is likely to be more unsettled. A lot of that could be snow, of course, across central and eventually into even southeastern parts of Europe. But I don't think, again, that's right for us. But Beijing Climate Centre has got this month very wrong as well. This is the 500 millibar height anomaly for the month, and it's sticking a trough in where we should have a ridge. So we've got these blue colours right over the top of the country, ridging down to the south. That just isn't right, but it should be the other way round, really. So for the first half of February. Now, we could get a change in the second half of the month. The short range models can't go out to the second half of the month. But even if we get that change in the second half of February, we're still not going to end up with an anomaly as dramatically unsettled as this. This is going for a very unsettled month with this low pressure around the country. So it's one of those months, this, where the models are not great in pinning down what's going on, I don't think. The temperature anomaly is coming out warmer than average. It's on the milder side of average. I would suggest that's going to be at the very least nearer average, to be honest. It may even be colder than average. It depends, as I said, what happens in the second half of the month. And we're coming out with a significantly wetter than average monthly anomaly for February as well. I've got these blue colours in over the country. Now, we know that at least the first week to 10 days is going to have a lot of high pressure influences. So maybe there'll be a huge flip and it'll turn extraordinarily wet in the sort of middle and second half of the month, and we'll get that anomaly come off. But it's going to have to be a huge switch, really, from how dry we're going to be in the first week to 10 days to sort of come up with this very wet anomaly for February. I'm just not buying it. I don't think that's right. It should be very significantly drier, I would suggest, than that is showing. So this is taking us through the first week to 10 days, the 500 millibar flowchart for the next week to 10 days, takes us up to the 11th of February. And you can see it, can't you? The red colours are right in there over the country. That's above average height. It's high pressure, centred. Well, it doesn't extend out in the Atlantic, but it is centred there right over the top of the country. This is the ECMWF, and the GFS is very similar, has the ridge right in there over the top of the country. There's the trough digging down through eastern parts of Europe, and they've both got that. So the general idea, I think the CFS is sort of hinting at the idea, at least. The Beijing Climate Centre is completely away with the fairings, I think, actually, but the CFS is sort of hinting at the pattern, which is for the high pressure to be ridging in. The CFS V2 to isn't ridging the high pressure in enough. Should be ridging it in a lot more. But it's sort of there, it's got the pattern kind of okay. This is all for the first half of the month. Whether we get a change in the second half of the month is debatable. We probably will. But February is one of those months where high pressure can sort of hang around for quite a long time when it gets in. So I've got problems for this month. The model guidance isn't great. It's one of those months where we've had a change, a significant change in the established pattern, and the models are really rushing to try and catch up with that. I'm going to really go with my winter forecast because I think the winter forecast has panned out quite well, and the overall idea from the winter forecast was that February holds the best chance of being colder than average month, but not severely cold. I don't think we're going to struggle to get this high pressure into a position such as centred over the top of Greenland or to the north of Scandinavia to really pull in very severely cold weather. So I don't think we're going to have a severely cold month. Nevertheless, I think we've got our best chance of having a colder than average anomaly once we get through to the end of the month, probably just from night frost. Actually, it could be a lot of frosty nights this month under the high pressure. So let's say we get a cold and average month, maybe half a degree, something like that, colder than average. So fairly substantially cold, but not severely cold. And it could be a notably dry month as well. This February, I think we could have a very dry month in complete contrast to February last year. I would suspect we will probably break down this high pressure as we go into the second half of the month, so overall probably wetter in the second half than the first half, but even then I think we'll tend to keep anticyclonic influences fairly robustly, so even in the second half of the month, while it will probably be more unsettled and wetter than the first half, I would suspect it won't be desperately wet, and overall we probably will come out with a significantly drier than average precipitation anomaly. So generally the idea is a cold and average month, probably mostly through night frost if nothing else. Could be some reasonably mild days later on in the month, by the way. If high pressure hangs around, the sun is getting a lot stronger by the second half of February, so we could get some reasonably mild days, but being offset by cold, frosty nights. So yeah, a cold and average anomaly for February, and probably significantly drier than average as well. Certainly not a particularly snowy month either. Finally, to give you a quick sneak peek at March, not sure how we should take this from March, how seriously we could take it, because the models are rushing to catch up with February, so you assume if they haven't got the pattern right for February, everything else going further downstream, if you like, is going to be subject to change as well. But this is what the FSV2 is showing for March in terms of 700 millibar heights. We've got a trough of low pressure in the Atlantic, a ridge somewhere to the south of the country, so that's quite an unsettled month again, and the flow is coming through. But where is the high pressure that we have in February? Where's the ridging? I don't think that's right either. I would suspect there's going to be a pretty strong ridge somewhere, at least across Europe, just left over, if nothing else, from February. So I'm not sure that's quite right either for March. And February is causing enough of a headache on its own without worrying about March. So we'll worry about that next month. But coming back finally to a quick summary for the February forecast. It's for a cold and average month. Our first cold and average month is August, and the only cold and average month this winter. It won't be a severely cold month. You're going to struggle to get high pressure into a position to produce severely cold temperatures. So cold and average, probably significantly drier than average, especially in the first half. May turn a little bit more unsettled in the second half. We'll see how it goes. As ever, we'll evaluate next month. Come back and see how it's panned out. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.